Hi, thanks for coming. I had a revelation last week. I began by going to a temple, a Hindu temple, and talking to the people there. And the energy was great. But I went back the other day and I talked to some of the people there. And to my surprise, some of the people didn't know how to meditate. So I thought, well, maybe I should make a video about meditation and Samadhi and Samyama. I think most people haven't got a clue what the word Samyama means. I guess what the thing to do is to say that yoga or the 8 limbs of yoga are designed to have the experience of samadhi. And I see a lot of meditation people talking about mindfulness and watching the flow of the thoughts and think that that's samadhi. Well, it's not. Let me give you an example that will illustrate the point. The definition of samadhi is when the observer, the act of observation, and the thing observed become one. And the process of going into samadhi removes the process of thinking. So it was to go back to the example of the person that didn't know how to meditate. I had him do a mantra. Say it, repeat it. And there's a saying in yogic experience, first you do the mantra, and then the mantra does you. To explain that a little bit, the mantra entrances the mind eventually. Because you start to have this feeling of the flow within yourself. And so then you become addicted to doing meditation. This addiction can be much stronger than any drug. Eventually, when you do the mantra long enough, it seems to settle into your subconscious and goes even when you're not paying attention to it. There's another phrase in yoga circles that says that the meditation has to be like pouring oil from one vessel to another, a continuous stream. For example, the mantra Tat Twamasi. You start off by saying Tat Twamasi, Tat Twamasi, Tat Twamasi, Tat Twamasi. Okay, there's a space between Tat Tamasi and the next one. Eventually, the mantra becomes like this. Om Tat Tamasi, 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 Tat Tamasi. It penetrates into your being. Eventually, the mantra and you become inseparable. So if, to take this example, if the mantra continues all the time, in spite of what your mind is thinking, and this can happen, okay, you can have thoughts going through your mind, and you can have the mantra going on, and you can be able to see both of them. This is mindfulness, a version of it. It is the precursor to Samadhi. And some people even say that it may even be a type of Samadhi. And there is some truth to that because you and the mantra are no longer inseparable. But it's not Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Okay, when you look at Zen Buddhism or some of the other Buddhist practices, they talk about entering the void. What that is actually a Samadhi experience. Because thought disappears. Your mind does not operate anymore because it has achieved what it wants, which is the state of Samadhi. So that means the state of Samadhi is the absence of thought. So if it's the absence of thought, while you're in Samadhi, you cannot know that state by the mind. When you come out of that state is when the mind starts operating and it says, wow. People that go into Samadhi are completely changed. So the state of Samadhi initially is the union of yourself with yourself without the intervention of the mind. Okay, so when you talk about the 8 limbs of yoga, the most intense last 3 states are concentration, dharana, meditation, and Samadhi. That's the process that you go through. Now, if you read the 3rd chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Patanjali goes through how to get into the state of Samadhi. If your mind is active and you start to concentrate on a single object, it doesn't matter what it is, that is called dharana, or concentration. So to put it in terms of English, if you are thinking of God and you wonder what God looks like and how he manifests in the world and all this stuff, that's a circle around the object in the middle. To do a mantra or uh, even an English mantra means that you're no longer thinking about it, you're thinking of the object itself, separate from its manifestation. And that becomes a focus on that object itself. So there's now just the object, the act of observation, and the observer. This is meditation. So, and there, for who you really are cannot really be described. So, to become one with that thing means to enter the void where nothing is and isn't at the same time. And so if you continue with this long enough, and there's the definition of the first stages of samadhi at 12 seconds. After 2 hours, you have a state that you never come back from, in the sense that you're still something separate from the whole. Okay, so once you have this state of samadhi where you are become yourself, as it were. Swami Satchidananda, my guru, talked about this. He says it's like you have a container full of acid and you keep dropping a drop of a base into the acid. If you keep on doing this, eventually drop by drop, the acid becomes neutral and then it becomes basic. So meditation is like that drop of the base into the acid of the mind. Eventually, you stop and say, oh, I have entered that state. And I know, because my test is now I'm happy. I've always been happy. Okay, every analogy breaks down soon enough. But the fact that you keep on doing the meditation, eventually the meditation becomes you, and then there's the you and the meditation is one solid unit. No mind. Now when you come out of that, you have this immense awareness of the energy flowing within you. Never the same. So people that talk about mindfulness and they have some sort of realization are just fooling themselves, because they would be different. Okay. Patanjali goes on to state in the 3rd chapter, this is how you get into that state. It talks about having an intense focus. And to give the example that if you look at a candle flame as your object of observation, you see the flame in front of you, you see the yellow, the little blue thing, the dark wick. Okay. Then you close your eyes and you see that object. With your eyes closed, you see the flame. You open your eyes and there's the same image. There's a name for that. Ugreka Paranama. That means the flow of the mantra becomes continuous, whether your eyes are open or closed, it's doing its thing. That continues long enough, you enter Samadhi. Cannot be described because the mind never goes there. All the things you say about it are after the fact. But now that you've achieved this ability to be one with yourself, it turns out you can be one with anything else. And so people that know about the pranas, there's a prana called Udana prana that circulates throughout the body. If you concentrate and enter Samadhi upon that prana, you can levitate, walk on water. Okay, chapter 3, verse 40. That's how different things are once you've had Samadhi. So, and that's only the third chapter. Samadhi is only halfway through. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi said that you cannot become realized until you attain a siddhi. Well, there's always exceptions to the rule that prove the rule. And Patanjali himself says that the siddhis can come in the fourth chapter, not the third, but the fourth. He says you can recapture the siddhis from a previous life by remembering or getting into Samadhi. And take herbs. By that he meant psychedelics or some other thing. Okay, and then wands. Okay, things that have been energized. Samadhi is not the end, it's halfway. So it was a real surprise to me to go to a Hindu temple and find somebody who didn't know how to meditate. Complete surprise. So I thought I'd make this video to let other people know that there is such a thing as Samadhi, but it's not what people think it is. Otherwise, they'd be doing it. One of the most interesting things about the state of Samadhi, and this has been confirmed by all the saints and sages throughout time, they said, now that I've had the state of Samadhi, I realize that I always had it. It has always been part and parcel of me. It's never been away from me for even an instant. And I'm in that state even when I know I'm not. So I close this by saying that you have that state within you. It is yours. You can use it to do many things and to reach final enlightenment. That is my wish for all of you.